Do you often feel like you have a sixth sense when it comes to other people's emotions? Feeling like you're picking up on things they aren't even saying, and maybe others around aren't even noticing? Empathy might be your superpower. And today we're going to talk about how to maximize this gift and how to make sure it doesn't take over your own emotional health. At the end of this video, I'll give you a 3-step self-care practice that you can use if you find yourself taking on too many of other people's emotions. Now, it's important to note that people who have experienced trauma or depression are more likely to feel higher levels of empathy. The TraumaEdCo YouTube channel is all about helping you understand emotional patterns that you may run into as you're breaking these old patterns and feel supported on your journey to healing. So on that note, is it normal to feel other people's emotions? Fundamentally, yes. It's completely normal to feel other people's emotions, and there's a huge difference between feeling empathy and sympathy. So watch this video to learn the difference between the two, how to know what you're feeling in any given moment, and what you can do to support yourself and those you love. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. This is really important to note because feeling the feelings of another person can be helpful, but it can also be detrimental to your own energy system. So you can imagine that if you are an empath and you're taking on the feelings of everybody around you, towards the end of the day, you're gonna start to feel bogged down by all those emotions that aren't even yours. They don't even belong to you. So many people who are empaths don't even wanna go out in public very often because it's so overwhelming to be feeling those feelings of another person. Now, when we look at sympathy, sympathy is the feelings of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune. Now, sometimes the word pity gets a bad rap because we feel like, oh, poor you, poor you. But really, sympathy is being able to look at another person, seeing them in their sorrow, seeing them in their misfortune, and being able to give love and understanding to them without actually taking on their own or their emotions. An analogy that I like to use for this is a tunnel. So if you could imagine that you have a friend or close family member who is going through something deeply emotional, they're coming through a tunnel. So in the depths of their emotion, in their pain, in their grief, instead of joining them in the tunnel and feeling those emotions with them, you have the opportunity to be sympathetic and actually stand in the light at the end of that tunnel saying, hey, here's the light, come through, here are my hands to help you, to love you, to guide you, to support you. I'm gonna stand over here in the light, giving all my love to help you move through this tunnel more quickly, completely loved and supported as they do it. So that's kind of the difference, joining them in the tunnel versus standing in the light and giving them the love and support that they need to successfully move through. So empathy is a natural human response. It helps us connect with and understand the emotions of others and to have a natural desire to help when we see someone who's experiencing strong emotions. One challenge that comes up when we have a friend or loved one who is experiencing a very strong emotion is that everyone experiences and expresses their emotions differently. So it's not possible to accurately know or feel exactly what someone else is experiencing. This is really important to remember because as we are providing our love and support for a certain person, maybe they just lost their job and they're in that tunnel, they're in the darkness, they're feeling the weight of the world on their shoulders. Instead of joining them in that dark tunnel, trying to pull them through it, it's important to remember that it's not our responsibility to bear the burden of somebody else's emotions, and it is our responsibility to take care of our own emotional well-being while we are supporting them. So even though empathy and sympathy are normal parts of the human experience, why do we do it? When we ask this question, it's usually from a source of pain. So seeing somebody else in pain and knowing that we have gone through our own pain that we've had to come through as well. And it usually is coming from a childhood trauma where we were having to take care of other people in our lives. Sometimes it was our siblings, sometimes it's our parents. But if we grew up in a childhood where we were trying to make sure that other people felt good so that we could create safety and love and more positive emotions, then we tend to want to help others more as adults. We become more empathic, more sympathetic. And oftentimes we feel responsible for doing something for those feelings or emotions in other people because we're still trying to create that safety for ourselves and others. So if you grew up in a chaotic environment where you had a parent or other adults where you never knew what you were going to expect, where maybe they were having a good day and came home happy, but then the next day they came home upset and behaved badly as parents. As children, we might try to create an even playing field of emotion. So trying to know what they were feeling and what they were needing so that we could take care of it on the front end in order to create that safety for ourselves and everybody else around us. So if you've been empathizing and you've been taking on the burdens of others, which is totally normal in this kind of situation, it's really important to have a self-care practice. It's really important to know how to release the emotions and the burdens that aren't yours. And it's also really important to have a practice so that if you're feeling your own emotions, that you can effectively move through them instead of holding on to them. We know that if we are holding on to negative emotions, that it can actually cause physical ailments in our body. It can actually cause dis-ease from holding on to this stuff. So, how do we move through this? How do we support our loved ones? How do we support ourselves? I love this 3-part practice that I'm going to share with you now, and I offer it up to you so that you can try it and see how it works for you. So the first thing that I like to do is protect my energy field. And there are many different ways that you can do this. Sometimes people like to imagine that they're putting themselves in a bubble. So you can imagine stepping into this bubble, zipping it up, and now you have this protective barrier around you where you can go out into the world, you can go out into the wild with all those humans that are humaning, and you can have this bubble of protection where you can see what they're feeling, you can sympathize with what they're feeling, but it doesn't penetrate your safety bubble. Another way that you can protect your energy field is by pretending that you have a suit of armor on, some kind of suit that will protect you from everybody else. Similar to the bubble idea, you step into this protective suit, zip it up, and now you are free to roam about the wild while protecting your energy system. Again, you get to be sympathetic to the needs and hurts of others without taking it on yourself. So you're out in the world, you are protected, your energy field is keeping you nice and safe. The second way that you can protect your energy field when you are out in the wild with these humans humaning is to use something called EFT. If you've watched this channel, you've seen me do EFT many times. It stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's also known as tapping. And I love to use EFT in this kind of situation as a tool to help me stay present in the moment. So you can imagine if your friend comes to you, they've just lost their job, the weight of the world is crashing down on them, they don't know what they're gonna do, they don't know how they're going to feel, they don't know how they're going to make ends meet. There's a lot that's coming up, and as the empathetic friend, you want to be there for them, you want to be present in the moment, but you don't want to take on their stuff. It's very easy by using the points on the fingers. So what I love about the finger points is you can do it incognito. When I work with students who are at-risk youth, I love to teach them this because you can do it behind your back, you can do it in the pocket of a hoodie sweatshirt, and it's really easy and nobody knows what you're doing. If anybody sees you, they just think you're fidgeting. So what that looks like is just squeezing the tips of the fingernails, or tips of the fingers, right at the base of the fingernails. And you just hold and squeeze, hold and squeeze. Okay, so you can do this behind your back. You can do this on the side of your lap. If you are out and you don't have a way to kind of do it behind your back, you can actually do it like this, squeezing all of your finger points together and then release and squeezing again. So what this does is it sends an electrical pulse through your body's energy system up to the amygdala that says, hey, I'm not in any danger. I'm just supporting a friend or a loved one, and I'm not about to be eaten by a tiger. So as soon as your fight or flight response, that little amygdala knows that you're not in danger, you're not going to be eaten, there's no real threat to you, that cortisol and that fight or flight response starts to get down-regulated. So what that does is allows you to stay present in your prefrontal cortex. So you're listening to your friend and you're just squeezing. And what this does is it just lets you hear the words that your friend is saying without taking on the feeling of it, without taking on the burden, and it just moves through your own body's energy system. So if it's painful, if it's stressful, whatever it is, as you're doing these pressure points, you're just allowing their words and their emotions to just move through you and not get stuck. My third most favorite way of protecting myself when I am supporting or sympathizing with somebody else is flushing my own energy system afterwards. So there's a couple different ways to do this. One is, again, with EFT. If there's anything that they have said that they brought up that still feels like it's a little bit sticky, you can use the different tapping points to move through those emotions. So watch one of the other videos if you want to know how to do the EFT process. It's very simple, it's very easy. There's face points, there's the finger points. But the way that you do it is if your friend's telling you about they lost their job and you're starting to feel like, oh no, what if that happens to me? Then again, you can just do these points on your fingers. Even though I'm afraid this is gonna happen to me, I know that I'm safe right now. I was a good friend to them. And you just kind of go through what it was like to listen to your friend as you are doing this and flushing your own energy system. The other way that I like to flush my energy system is by having the intention of scooping off all of the energy that doesn't belong to me. So you start with your hands at the bottom of your feet, coming up over the top of your body, down, all the way down to your feet. Now you can't see my feet, but all the way down to your feet. And then when you get to the end, brush your hands out like this. Then wipe it off your hands and give it back out to the universe with the intention of it to be healed, transmuted, and dissolved so that it doesn't stick to anybody else. Our intentions are really powerful like that. So again, you scoop up over the top of your body, down the back of your body, pushing it out, clean off your arms, and throw it out. And you do that 3 times. There's power in the number 3. So I love to just do things 3 times to really feel like I'm getting everything out there. So I hope that you have found some tools that will be helpful for you as you are adventuring out into the wild, being that empathetic or sympathetic person that you are, knowing that the reason you are so empathetic and so sympathetic is because you've worked through your own trauma, and the empathy and the sympathy is now your superpower. You have trained yourself how to be a superhuman by coming through your own traumatic experiences. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shannon Ray, and this has been your Ray of Sunshine. Check out our next video, What is EFT Tapping?, where you can actually learn all about the science behind EFT, how to use it so that you can be your most wonderful self out in the wild. Bye.